With Veterans Day coming up, let's take a look at some real heroes. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin' Movies. As always, I am your host, the real Gino Reynolds, and today we're going to be talking about The Outpost, which is based on a book by CNN's Jake Tapper. And what this movie is about, it's about the soldiers that ran and defended Camp Keating, which was an outpost that was set up during the Afghanistan war. And long story short, this outpost was a strategic nightmare for them. You have this base that is totally surrounded by cliffs, and they have no... they're almost trapped in there. Any backup they need is miles away. So they're talking about getting shot at multiple times a week by snipers. And what the movie is eventually setting up is you have some of the soldiers concerned that the Taliban is eventually going to attack this outpost. And that's what the movie is leading up to, is it's setting up that the fears of some of the soldiers is going to come true, and they're going to be in for the fight of their lives. Again, this movie is based on a true events and real people. And while movies like this, I'm just going to say this before I say anything else. This is on Netflix now, so you can definitely watch it. If you have a Netflix subscription, you can watch it for nothing. I like this movie as a whole. Where the movie is somewhat weak, and this is not me insulting the movie itself, because this is something that would be very hard to do with even less people that they would have to follow. But see, you got a movie that's trying to set up, it's about 2 hours long, and about an hour of it is setting up not only tons of characters, which, the movie just keeps going by and they keep popping up names on different guys, and you're not going to remember everybody's name. And that's sad. I didn't like that, because this is based on real people that went through real things, and you want to remember who they are. You're going to remember a few, because some of them are based on soldiers that got like medals of honor and things like that. There are a lot of awards, a lot of medals were passed out to the people that took part in the events of this movie. But see, the movie itself is trying to set up all these different people, plus they're trying to set up the danger that's coming, trying to set up what they're trying to accomplish from the outpost, which is to try to separate the Taliban from the natives that don't want trouble, that want some freedom. So the movie's got a lot to set up in about an hour, because the second hour is dedicated to the attack, which we'll talk about that in a second. So setting up a lot of these soldiers individually, kind of hard to do. Again, I'm not putting the movie down because of it. I'm just saying that it's something that would be difficult to do if there was 10 people, let alone as many that they're trying to set up here. I don't remember the exact number of soldiers, but it's a lot. Plus that you have new commanders coming in as well. There's 3 or 4 different commanders, or base commanders, or whatever rank they are. Forgive me for not remembering what their ranks were, but they're all, they're rotating new ones in throughout that first hour. So there's a lot going on in this first hour trying to set up. But here's what the movie does do well. It sets the soldiers up as a family. They're, one of the characters is saying, I wouldn't trade this for anything. We're a band of brothers. And that's what you hear a lot from military guys, is the people with them go through some crazy stuff with them, and they become family. So the movie does a good job in that aspect, is setting them up as, okay, you care about them as this group, even though you're not getting to know them as much as individuals as you'd like. They do try to set up a few of the different characters. But it's hard to really get invested in them as solo characters. But you do care about them as a group. So the movie does a good job at that. So, and that's really honestly, it's all this movie needs. It needs you to care about this group of guys, even though, I mean, the movie does not stray away from the way some of these guys talk, the way they talk to each other, some of the language they use, some of the words they use that aren't real acceptable in this day and age, shouldn't have been acceptable at all. But it's just, look, these guys, they're trying to make the best of a terrible situation. They know they're in a bad spot. They know that something will eventually come, and it does, to get them. But they're making the best of a really bad situation, trying to keep each other's spirits up, be brothers to each other. So the movie does do a good job at that. One thing the movie that bothered me about the movie, and this isn't a terrible thing, the foreshadowing. Granted, I haven't read the book this is based on, but from what I understand, one of the guys that does win the Medal of Honor, and I'm probably gonna mispronounce his name, Clinton Romisha. That's Scott Eastwood's character. He was really critical of the outpost itself, like where it's at. He just says it's like, there's a quote here. It says, like being in a fishbowl or fighting from the bottom of a paper cup. And if you see where they're at in this movie, I mean, it would be a nightmare. They have no high ground. Insert Revenge of the Sith jokes. So was this foreshadowing there in real life? Maybe. It's just the movie really pushes really hard. It's like, something's going to happen one of these days. We're in a bad spot. They do it a lot. They almost do it too much. Again, it doesn't ruin the movie or anything, but it really does. It's like, okay, we know there's something coming. We got it, okay? They do force it just a little bit. When the action starts, it does not stop. About an hour into the movie, again, the movie's about 2 hours-ish. When the action starts, it doesn't stop. When the Taliban finally comes, it's hundreds of soldiers, and you have this base that they were planning on shutting down, but then they're extending the time there, and the Taliban's coming for them. They don't have all their weapons, they don't have all their ammo, but they have to find a way to stop the Taliban from destroying this outpost. And I will say that, I mean, I read up on History versus Hollywood a little bit about the true story, and it's just like, it's a surprise that they only lost what they did. They only lost, I believe it was like 8 soldiers out of however many there were. There was a decent amount of them. And yes, 8 is too many, but it could have been a lot worse. Could have been every single one of them, but you had so many men step up and defend themselves for each other that they were able to overcome incredible odds. And again, this leads to, at the end of the movie, watch the entire credits, because there's pictures and interviews and everything with the real guys, some of the real guys, and they show how many of them got medals and things like that. And it was insane how many medals they handed out to these guys. Not saying they weren't deserved. I'm just saying, it's like, here's this guy, he got this many medals. There's this guy, and they kept saying they got all these medals and everything. So it was just really, it was really neat to see in the movie. I mean, I'm glad they definitely bookended it with showing some interviews and stuff with the real people, because I will say that if it didn't have that stuff, the impact still would have been good, but it wouldn't have been as good. I think seeing the real people behind this, hearing their voices, hearing them talk about it, really helped the movie as a whole, because without it, yeah, I don't know if the movie would have been as strong. Having it bookended with that stuff really did help it a lot. There's really not much more to say about it. I wouldn't say it's the greatest war movie I've ever seen, but it is a decent story about real guys that went through a real thing. And from what I understand, though they moved around some timeline stuff, a lot of the movie's pretty accurate to what happened especially during the battle. So I recommend it. If it's like I said, I've seen better war movies. I've seen better movies based on real events, but this is still a really good movie. And since it's on Netflix, if you like stuff like that, it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you have Netflix. It's there and you can watch it for nothing. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about this movie. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. As always, I am your host, the real Gino Reynolds. See you later.